flashes of the past.
This is going to be a quick and dirty Arcana guide video for the Warsong update for Hades 2. Not much actually changed when it comes to the Arcana cards for this update. So if you kind of have a feeling already and you played the last update, you don't really need to care that much about this, truth be told. Yeah, just turn off the video, whatever. Doesn't matter. But in case you're just kind of curious, or if you skipped the last update, we'll try to help you out. So we're kind of going to go through them one by one and just talk about how often you use it, when you'd use it a little bit. If you just want to know, what do I use for an Arcana setup? Well, this here is probably what I use 90% of the time, maybe 85% of the time. You got Sorceress, Wayward Son, Huntress is on, Persistence, Furies, Swift Runner, but that's really only to activate Divinity. Centaur, Origination should always be on. These four for extra rolls, and Strength. So if you just want the answer to that, to what do I use, you want to skip all the explanation, boom, there you go. Anyway, moving on. So individually, the Sorceress, it's 1 grasp for 30% faster Omegas. You're probably going to have it on the majority of runs. Even runs where you barely use Omegas or never, maybe even never use Omegas, it's 1 grasp and it helps you activate Divinity to get more epics, right? So it's probably going to be on practically all the time. You know what I mean? Wayward Son is just good value. 1 grasp, restore 5 health between each location. Always have it on. Huntress is kind of iffy. It kind of depends what you think you're going to be aiming for, what you're going to be using. It depends on the build. So if you know you're going to be using mostly Omega moves and spending a lot of magic, the Huntress isn't going to be that helpful. However, it's kind of hard to replace the Huntress naturally here. I mean, maybe the Knight, but you need to use different Omegas in a row, which can be tough. You might take the Messenger and then just leave 1 grasp. I know that sounds crazy, but it's not the worst idea ever. You could turn 2 things off. I guess I'd recommend Wayward Son as the second. Turn on something like the Lovers here. That way you also activate the Queen for more duo chances, I think. But yeah, this is mostly what I'd use. This is one of the changes here. Eternity. While you channel your Omega moves, everything moves slower for 1.2 seconds. They brought it back. It was very highly requested. But because it costs 3 grasps, I don't think I'm ever going to really use it, other than to just kind of check it out or something like that. I don't think it's worth 3 grasps, but if you like it, you can use it. If you want to use it, what would I recommend that you drop? I don't know, honestly. You could consider, I guess it might be the same thing, you know? Activates the moon, but whatever to the moon, basically.
The Huntress.
It might be the Huntress off, too. I'm not going to use it personally. I don't personally think that it suits a fast-paced action game to kind of constantly go into this slow-mo bullet time effect either. However, it is helpful. It is a powerful effect and will help you beat the game more easily. Do I think it'll help you beat the game more easily than having these 2 on? Probably not, honestly. Probably not. The moon, your hex also charges up automatically as though you used 3 magic every 1 second. You just have to activate one of these 3 cards here. I mean, there's not much to say about it. If you're going for a hex run, then you should a hex-oriented run, like you want to just, hey, I want to try out this specific hex or something like that. Then I guess you could make sure that you get this. But otherwise, I wouldn't think about it, honestly. Don't worry about it. The Furies, you deal 30% more damage to foes in your cast. I think it should always be on. I kind of feel like it should always be on. 30% more damage to enemies in your cast. You should get used to just having your cast down 100% time as often as quickly as possible. You can often like kind of work your cast, weave your cast in to like combinations of attack and special. Sometimes with certain Omegas, you can actually drop it while you're charging the Omega. So this is Aspect of Pan. You're charging up the Omega special. You can drop the cast without even canceling it. And that doesn't work on every single thing. I'm afraid it depends on the weapon, on the aspect, but it does work a lot of times. So just always have that cast down. It's good. Persistence, 40 health, 40 magic for 2. Always have it on. I think you always have it on. The Messenger is the other new one. This replaced a 5% dodge chance for 1 grasp. This is more interesting. I don't know if it's actually better, though, truth be told. Your casts momentarily make you impervious to move 70% faster. What does it mean by move 70% faster? As you're dropping your cast, you get a tiny move speed boost. It's not tiny, actually. You get a very brief move speed boost. I kind of enjoy it being there, but I'm not certain how often I'm going to use it. It's also not totally clear how long you're impervious for or how useful that aspect is going to be, truth be told. I'm just not sure about it right now. Yeah, no understanding what the impact of the messenger is. Yeah, it kind of just doesn't matter potentially. I'm going to say you're probably not going to take this most of the time unless, like, you have no use for the Huntress, and so I guess you'll throw this on here. That's kind of the only time I've used it. The Unseen, you restore 6 magic every 1 second for 5 grasps. Costs too much. Never use it. It's a trap. Just get a magic regen boon instead. 1 boon versus spending 5 grasp. It's not even close. Trust me. It's not even close. The Knight. You have plus 15% chance to deal critical damage with each move in an Omega combo. This really, really depends how you plan to play the game. So if you're going to be using Aspect of Momus, for instance, for the staff, you're going to want to use all 3 different Omega moves. The Knight is a good choice. Aspect of Persephone, where you might drop the Omega cast and the Omega special. Go back and forth between those. Might be okay. It doesn't work with Aspect of Charon, unless they changed it this patch, but I don't think they did. Yeah, I don't find myself using this often, but on occasion, I guess I definitely do. Yeah, Momus is definitely the easy one for that. Swift Runner, sprint is 10% faster, lets you pass right through most dangers in your way. They added that second line there. I haven't really noticed it, so I don't know how much that matters, truth be told. The only reason I keep it on is basically for Divinity here to get more epic boons, because you gotta activate a row or a column. That's the only reason. Here's one of the big questions for Hades. You have plus 3 defiances with death. Cool card here, by the way, right? Love that art. You always use strength now, I think. I think you always use strength. There might be fringe circumstances where you should use X, Y, or Z. Obviously, if you're brand new to the game, you don't have all the cards unlocked, you don't have them all upgraded, and you're starting with Death Defiances, don't worry that much about it. But generally speaking, for any type of run, I still kind of think that strength will serve you better. It makes max health more powerful, it makes other effects more interesting, plus you deal more damage, it just feels better, I think, too. It's scary at first, but you'll get used to it, and I think I find myself playing more reliably by having strength on. It's not the biggest difference, but I can't help but just say you should pretty much always have strength. Yeah, and Athena is a really good god, too, by the way. And there's some powerful effects from just not having Death Defiances, for that matter, as well. The Centaur. Well, this you just get if you use a card from each grasp. Sure, pretty much always have it on. I mean, you should always have it on, I guess, when you are using all this stuff, right? So I guess there's not much to say about it. Origination, always have it on. Always, always, always have it on. Deal 50% more damage to foes with at least 2 curses from different Olympians. Play around Origination. Get those 2 curses. That's a big part of playing Hades 1 and 2, right? You know what I mean? It's just, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. It's so worth it. The Lovers. This one's actually okay and quite interesting. It does have times where I want to use it, and I have used it. Takes 0 damage the first 3 times you're hit in guard encounters. Especially good for very high fear. If you're going that way, probably 32, I can imagine. If you want to use the White Antler Keepsake, which I probably don't recommend in general. What would you drop for it? I mean, I kind of already showed it, but you'd probably drop these 2 for it. That's what I would drop, at least. The Enchantress, you get plus 3 rerolls and can alter location rewards. Always on. 100% uptime on it. 100% uptime on the champions and the Enchantress, just to be clear. All the time. Rerolls are incredibly powerful in this game, just like they were in Hades 1. You get to control your build. Now, when you don't know what things work best, they might not help you that much, but you will learn, and they will be very powerful. You know, watch for duo boons, try to aim for duo boons, and those things. So does that mean the Boatman is something I've kind of... Sometimes I have it on 95% of the time, but there are rare occasions where I will turn it off and just go out with 6 rerolls to start, basically. There are times where I haven't used it, to be honest. In case I want something, if I want the Huntress and the Lovers, for instance, you know, Artificer, sometimes for a goofy run, but I don't know if I really choose it under the premise that I like it. This might be a good circumstance to take Eternity.
Eternity.
Maybe, but only maybe. to slow things down if you turn off boatman. What do you do with the last 2 grass after that, though? I guess you'd have to throw it on the knight, right? Because what else can you do? That could be an interesting run on its own, but I would have the boatman on most of the time, honestly. Artificer, you have 3 chances this night to turn any minor find into a major find. Random major find. So it can turn, for instance, ash into a boon, or a hammer even. It doesn't bypass limits, not necessarily at least. Fringe circumstances, but we won't get into it. It's good. It's just hard to fit in with the rest of the things here, honestly. It's just, it doesn't quite beat out most of the rest of the things. This is good for more of a fun run. I consider it more powerful in the underworld where you're going to get a lot of minor rewards very early on in the run. Thus, this can help you hopefully get more powerful early in Erebus. Whereas if you go to the surface, you don't usually see minor finds until the second zone. So you're kind of stuck waiting a long time, you know what I mean? But it might give you max health, it might give you a palm, it might give you max magic, it might give you things that you really don't want, in other words. You just don't know, really. It's really more for fun, I think, most of the time. Excellent. Any boons you were offered have plus 50% chance to be improved rare. Not worth it. Never take it. Never use it. Costs too much, basically. The Queen. Any boons you were offered have plus 10% chance to be a duo. We kind of showed this. I mean, I've kind of just gone without it, because it's kind of too hard to activate given the cards that I want to have on. But yeah, you could consider, again, turning these off. You could turn Artificer, you could turn on the Lovers, you could turn on Eternity. Whatever pleases you, I guess, and that way you have the Queen on. That would probably be the best way to do it. If you really want it. But I haven't really found myself starving, like, oh man, these dual boons are just too rare, I just can't seem to get them. I don't think so. It just doesn't feel like it's necessary to work around it, at least. Strength. While you have no Death Defiance, you can take minus 50% damage and deal 25% more. So we kind of already talked about it, you know? So, I mean, why is it so strong? Exactly. It makes your health pool more effective. It also makes healing in the game much more effective as well. And there's been a couple new ways to heal. Namely, Ares' Blood Spree comes to mind at a quick glance. You have to be below 40 health in order to trigger it, but I still think it's very good. I think this is definitely the card to take. You know, it's definitely the one. I was on the fence, actually, when they first introduced it. Like, it seems okay. It seems more like a glass cannon-y thing. But actually, the negative 50% damage is a big deal. One little thing to point out is that armor from Hephaestus or from other shop purchases no longer takes into account damage reduction like that you get from strength. So armor is kind of worse, but it's just as powerful. The armor is just as powerful as if you had Death Defiances, though, when you think about it. So it kind of doesn't really change anything, if that makes sense. So armor is still just as good. It's just not better than when you were running Death Defiances anymore. Hope that makes sense. Divinity, any boons you are offered have plus 20% chance to be improved to Epic. I think this is worth working around usually. Like, I want everything in this left column except for Swift Runner, so I might as well activate Divinity. I feel like it's kind of just like, yeah, of course, you know, that kind of thing. It's essentially free, right? It's essentially free. Last one, Judgment. You activate 5 random inactive Arcana cards whenever you vanquish a Guardian, but you can't activate more than 3 cards. I don't really have fun with Strength, personally. I've done plenty of Strength runs at the same time, though. I think this is usually what you do if you want to run Judgment. Did I say... Wait, what did I say? Oh, actually, nowadays, you'd probably turn that off and turn on Strength, I'm thinking, instead. Yeah, you gotta take that. You can't... Yeah, you don't do Boatman. You gotta have Strength here, for sure. Unless you really want to go crazy. Did I not say Judgment? I meant Judgment, sorry. I don't love Judgment. I don't think it's a useful tool. However, it's goofy and fun in its own way, I suppose. But I don't think Judgment is a good strategy for just winning, if that's the question. You know what I mean? Sure, turn it on. Have goofy fun if you want, but I don't think it's particularly useful. All right, I think that's it. Any good questions you think I haven't answered, chat? Or if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe, you know what's going on. Which art is the best? I like Death's art, even though I will never use the card again, potentially. Oh, best build for a new Black U. I think the best beginner builds. Let me turn all this on, just to be clear, like you would still use all this. Even though the Huntress is not actually particularly useful in this circumstance. You could turn it off. You turn on the Lovers, maybe. I don't know. I'd still just leave these two on, honestly. Aspect of Pan for the daggers, Poseidon special. You're done. You're done. Sure, you can shoot for his legendary. Sure, you can shoot for a couple duo boons. But this is all you got to do. Aspect of Pan, Poseidon special. Dunzo. Just work around origination and stuff. You don't need like 1,000 duo boons or anything like that. You'll have a good, cheap, easy run with that.